So thank you very much. And thank you to all our facilitators with their presentations. And this segment now, we will just be discussing all the different career paths and options in terms of the green mobility and technology. So what we want to say is that this is not a comprehensive list. This is a list that is growing, but based on what we feel and what we have seen, this is something that could be of great use to you guys and to the audience as well, to see that there is a lot of opportunity in this green field and green energy. So what we have just created is just a guide, and we will also upload it so that you can download. It is quite an exhaustive guide, and it's quite a long, booklet that we've created, but you can just look geared towards your background in your industry. So what I will be doing is I'll just be showing 2 or 3 cases in each of these roles to showcase the new list of green energy careers that are going to come our way. So the first thing is your technicians. So technicians being really the base of when our EVs will come into play. And this is what we're seeing right now. As we see more uptake in your high voltage systems, we are starting to notice that there's a real need for your technicians to be further skilled, to use your high voltage systems and to work on them. So one of the things that we have noted is that there will be a great demand, and there is currently a demand for EV and HEV technicians. So this can be on your diagnosis and your service, your repairs, and it can also work towards your battery packs and even your powertrain. And the next thing that we also see is your battery system technicians. And now this is more of your specialized niche fields. I think one of the questions we should all be asking is, what happens when these vehicles go out of warranty? What happens when these vehicles are no longer of use? What do we do with their batteries? What happens? How do we reuse their batteries? And even if they are out of warranty and they're still working, what happens if one of the battery cells or modules don't work? Who will be able to fix that or assist in that? So this is 1 or 2 of the skills that will be needed in your technical side. Another 2 options here is that in your technician side is your solar PV technicians. When we think about your green mobility, we also have to look into the space of what will be charging and what will be powering these facilities. I mean, yes, the grid has stabilized, but we also need to think of the fact that if we now grow our base larger, that people now are in more need of your either plug-in or full electric vehicles. Where will this energy come from? So there will be a great need. And even if we see now, there's a great need of solar PV technicians. And the one that's also accompanying them is your EV charging infrastructure technicians. And this would be working well, because another question we have to ask. So what happens if we now want to put charging stations in communities? What happens if we want to make sure that they're accessible, not just on the highway, but to everyday people? So we really need people who are geared towards that in order for us to push this drive and this green mobility. And as I said, there's a lot more. So I'll just skip through this, and I will just stop here on the hydrogen fuel cell technician. If you've been just looking at the news and just seeing what's been going on, there's been another push into hydrogen fuel cell. And this is mainly geared towards your heavy motor vehicles. And this is what companies possibly like Volvo is looking into, that technology, to see if they can really, move into the hydrogen fuel cell. And also in SA here, we have the Boergebai project that is happening in the Northern Cape, if I'm correct. So there's activity and there's movement happening. So we need to really get ahead of the curve in order to fully, be a part of this transition. One point I want to make is just the current upskilling of the workforce. So one of the questions is, what happens if I'm already skilled, I'm a technician, I'm working as a diesel mechanic, what do I do? well, you fall into the line of being the technicians that need to be upskilled. So we're talking about your diesel mechanics. We're talking about your transmission and drivetrain specialist, your brake and suspension specialist, your automotive HVAC technicians. There was a recent individual who put out a thesis on the fact that new energy vehicles need to look into your air conditioning system, and that's quite interesting. So there's a need for upskilling, and each individual, based on their background, would need to be focusing on a certain type of upskilling course or training guide to further enhance them in their field. The same thing with the auto body and collision technicians, as we see more, greener cars come on the road, what happens if they get into accidents? Who will be assisting them? The automotive refinisher and painters, the apprenticeships, the junior technicians, even the master technicians. These are the current workforce that needs to be further upskilled and pushed into this greener field. And what we have also integrated in this pack that we've created here is just a qualification ladder and guide. And it's just a way of giving a preview of where you could look into if you're starting off. So let's say you have an interest in your technical field, where do you start? And if you're matric, we would really say start at, IMI level 1, and that's the entry level. And, it can be used for EV sales and fleets and solar rolls. So it can be used for all these things. If you have an artisan or trade certificate, look into IMI level 2 routine maintenance. That can really work well with your qualification. And if you're a highly experienced technician, look into IMI level 4 and IMI level 3. And each of our technical training has a 6-month interval. And what we've also done is we've also put a battery management system course in collaboration and partnership with the Automotive Skills Development Council of India. So that can also be a way you can pivot. And, we don't unfortunately have a lot of time, but there is a lot of opportunity present. In the sales and marketing, there is a great need for sales specialists to be informed, because customers and consumers are coming to sales specialists wanting a solution. So a sales specialist must know a few things about the high voltage system in order to accurately sell the product and accurately give information to really geared that it's not just EVs and high volt and hybrid vehicles are not going to solve everything, but they will help in certain streams. So sales and marketing, that's one big thing where there will be a push in terms of, skills in this sense. As I mentioned, we unfortunately don't have much time, but there's a lot of, opportunities and careers available going into your ECG communication specialist, your sustainability marketing manager. As we are really moving towards, communities really can be involved. So we need people who are aware and well informed to assist in this. Again, the current upskilling of the sales and marketing, you've got your insurance agents, you've got your broker, you've got your dealer principals, you've got your aftermarkets and parts and sales personnel. So all these individuals and personnel need upskilling. Again, as I said, it's quite an extensive presentation, but all these also need your upskilling and also need to be geared towards this new energy vehicle and green technology move. Research and development, R&D, that is also one big thing. So if you're not into your technician, you're not into sales, but you're into really researching and learning more, there's a huge field that's opened. We have not yet found out all the solutions to your high voltage systems. So there's a huge, huge need from our battery technology researchers to our environmental specialists or scientists. So there's a huge need. And if I just speed run through it, the next one is engineering. And I just want to express to our audience right now, there's a huge need, there's a huge gap, and we really need to mobilize this in a way that South Africa and the rest of Africa can really be a part of it. And this starts at many levels. And what we are doing at ChrisnelSA is we're trying to assist the highly skilled and the already employed. We are trying to upskill the ones who are matric, who may not be aware of the different avenues they may take. We also want to go into schools to really push young people into understanding more about this so that they can further propel this, sphere of technology into something more. So as mentioned, there's just a huge guide, and we will be making this available to all of you, even in the IT, industry. There's a great, push towards having this. So, if you have any questions and if you have anything that you want to ask, based on this, please let us know, and we can further expand on this and further give our input as to what will be important in this new energy space and new energy field. And then just to end off, my presentation here is that quality is the backbone of every society. And I think it's one of the things that's quite overlooked when, new industries are emerging. There will be a huge need for quality assurers and quality controllers. There will be a huge need for ISO 9001 auditors. The ISO actually is becoming revamped. So there's a huge need in the industry for quality personnel and people who are really geared towards compliance and also auditing the system. If you've heard on the news, there's been movements about the battery technology. The government wants to push in terms of having the automotive side localize this industry. So there's a huge need. And in this, we also have, guides as to where do I start? If you're employed, where do you start? If you're in tertiary, where do you start? If you are, having a diploma or degree, where do you start? Matric with pure maths, where do you start? So we've really given a full comprehensive guide to all these things that we've just made mention. And we really employ to, the audience today that there is a hope, there is a chance. I mean, we are, evident proof that if you get ahead of the curve, you can assist and you can further provide more input and value in something that is new and something that is, bigger than what we can imagine. So I'd like to just end off by saying thank you very much. And please, if you have any questions, I think there's 5 minutes for just a Q&A session. Please just ask us and type in the comment section. Remember, you have the field or the vast amounts of people here. We are ready to answer any questions you have. And if you have questions after this, let us know after this webinar. And thank you very much. And also, if Jacques also wants to present, he may. But as I mentioned, if you have any questions, please let us know in this moment right now. Thank you. So Jacques, would you be able to present? Or
otherwise, if anyone has any technical questions, feel free to take this time to ask us, and we'll try to answer it to the best of our ability.
Hi, Cecilia. Sorry, guys, we're just trying to give it a last push to see if we can maybe get the slideshow to run, but it seems like that's not on for today. But